Welcome, electronic video guests. Well, late last night, I was killing some time on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, and I saw one of the trending stories. It had the hashtag RIP Sammy, and I thought, man, did Sammy Sosa die? So I clicked on the hashtag thing. And here's what I saw, and it's got nothing to do with Sammy Sosa. This is what I saw when I clicked on that RIP Sammy hashtag. So a tweet from this fellow says, 10-year-old boy takes his own life after getting constantly bullied at school for his glasses and teeth. Heartbreaking. Sammy of Greenfield was bullied up until the night he took his own life, according to his family. Parents say they contacted the school 20 times to urge them to do something about the bullying, but they were ignored. Sammy was emotionally bullied, but also physically bullied, including an incident on a school bus where he was assaulted. They were making fun of him for his glasses in the beginning, then on to make fun of his teeth. It went on for a long time, his father said. Well, I read this tweet and I thought, what the heck? What excuse could the school have to possibly justify this negligence? I mean, this poor kid been bullied, the parents trying to get them to do something about it, nothing happens. It gets so bad, the poor young boy, 10 years old, takes his own life. I mean, what type of school is this? Will they let this go on and on? Don't do anything about it. I said to myself, I got to find out more about this. This story is just horrible. I'm going to see what this school says about all this stuff. So I went on the internet looking for a news story, and I found this one. Let me just read this here. It's not going to take too long. This story right here. It's from, is this the right one? Yes. Oh yeah, this is the right story. WLBT.com, published May 14th. Parents of a 4th grade student say they lost their son due to relentless bullying at school. Sammy's family said he was always on the go and had a bright smile that was hard to miss with an infectious laugh. Sadly, Sammy's parents, Sam and Nicole, said he died by suicide on May 5. According to the family, the 10-year-old 4th grader was being bullied up until the night he died. Family members said the bullying started last year and was started as words eventually turned physical. Sammy's parents say they contacted their son's school 20 times regarding the bullying. They can't just say they have zero tolerance, because that doesn't mean there is zero tolerance about bullies. Their zero tolerance means they don't have responsibility for it. People trust their kids to the school, but now that trust is breaking down, Sammy's grandmother, Cynthia, said. However, according to the superintendent of schools, Dr. Harold Olin, there was no bullying report ever submitted by the parents of the student. He also said the school's administrators and counselor had regular conversations with the family throughout the year, though he couldn't share the content of those conversations. Sammy's family said the bullying progressed from school and the bus to places like Snapchat, even despite him having limited access to his phone. Well, that story seemed a little peculiar to me, so I said, let me find out if there's any more detail about this on the internet. Some of the things, just when I thought about them, just weren't quite adding up. And then I found this other article here. This one here is from something called InsideEdition.com, published yesterday. And it basically repeats much the same information, but it does have this odd statement here from the school. Let's look at this. Greenfield Central Community Schools has released a statement saying the district is investigating the death along with the police department. The death of Samuel is tragic and has left our school corporation and larger community in tremendous grief. Our hearts pour out to the family at this time. Our staff has worked with the family quite a bit over the last 18 months. Contact between school personnel and the parents was frequent. The parents did report the manner of death as a suicide, and we are investigating their claims relating to bullying. Greenfield Police also issued a statement saying Sammy's death was under investigation. Well, that seems a little odd to go from Twitter reporting that that the young boy had killed himself. It seems to me we don't have an official cause of death yet. That's one of the odd little things. But there's one other thing in this story I wanted to mention before we get to our general comments, and that's about the online bullying. There's a little bit more information in this article. I think this is it down here. Yeah, this part down here. Sammy's mother and father said the school should have done more to protect their son as abuse went beyond school and showed up on social media, where classmates posted threats against him, his father told WTHR-TV. The messages were from students who wrote, "I'm going to beat you up. I'm going to beat you up when you get to school," Sam told the station. The post often said mean things about his mother, which would really set him off, the father said. It was Sam is the father, who discovered Sammy's body on Sunday morning inside his son's bedroom. Well, like I said, I read these news stories. After I read the initial tweet, I thought, man, oh man, this poor kid bullied at school. The school does nothing about it. I just wanted to read these news stories just to see, what possible excuse this school could have, and how they could just be so neglectful. But when I read the news stories, couple things just don't add up to me. First of all, on Twitter, it's presented as if the son's suicide is a documented, fact from the authorities, where the news article is saying his death is still being investigated, but his parents are claiming he killed himself due to bullying. So that seems odd that we don't. There's no confirmation from police or any authority that this actually is a suicide. It might be, but it hasn't been officially determined. There's investigations going on. Another thing that struck me was the parents claim they talked to the school 20 times, at least 20 times, about this bullying, and yet the school superintendent denies that there are any reports of bullying. Now, you could say they're just covering up, that the school could easily erase any kind of paper trail of reports, just destroy them, put them in a shredder or whatever. But that's a pretty cocky statement to make, a total denial that any reports of bullying were recorded. How would the school know that the parents hadn't recorded any phone conversations they made to the school, or hadn't recorded any conversations about in-school meetings, to just come right out and say that there hadn't been any reports of bullying? If anything is discovered, you've left yourself open to any kind of a lawsuit. You're going to be a loser if you've already made a public statement that, no, there were no cases of the parents reporting any bullying, and then it turns out that there were. So I find it odd that the superintendent would make that statement unless he was absolutely certain that there were no reports, that he knew he wasn't covering anything up. Why would you take that risk when you could just simply say, well, we can't make any comment at this time while the investigation was still going on? He just came right out and said there's no reports of any bullying. So that seems a little bit odd to me, that if there are all these reports of bullying, the school is flat out denying it from the get-go. And the another thing that struck me as curious when I thought about it was when the parents mentioned that some of the threats were on the internet. And I thought, usually when you read any type of a crime story on Twitter or the internet, and it involves anything where there could be a possible online trail, these amateur internet sleuths within minutes have screenshots from this or that social media site, all the threats or the manifestos, or all the types of internet trail that are left in these types of crimes. Usually within minutes somebody's found this stuff and posted it on the internet. I haven't seen anything. And they say classmates went on the internet and posted threats. You would think that, somebody would know the names of some of these alleged bullies and put them on the internet. A lot of times you see these cases where there's conflict in schools and the stuff gets on the internet, names are named and all that. There's been nothing at all on the internet about anybody finding any of these online bullying claims. They said statements were made about his mother. It seems to me, remember this fellow, the young boy that is tragically dead, he's age 10. So his classmates, we must assume, are also at age 10, maybe 9, maybe 11, making statements about his mother. What would they be saying that could be so bad? And how would they even know his mother? Like, how, maybe it's a small community, everybody knows each other, I don't know, but it just seems odd that they claim these 9, 10, 11-year-old bullies are saying things about his mom on the internet. That struck me as odd, too. And then also, I hate to, I hate to say this, but another thing that struck me is if you had reported to the school 20 times, well over the course, something that's went on for well over a year, that your son is being bullied, he's being, he's obviously, feeling depressed and stressed out and anxious about going to school. You've reported this time after time after time, and the school hasn't done anything. Why do you leave your kid in that school? Why, I'm not saying this, let's assume everything is 100% as the parents say. I'm not saying this to shift any blame from the school to the parents, but as a parent myself, you've got to think about, wouldn't you take your son out of that school? You could say, well, maybe they have financial reasons, they couldn't afford to put him in a private school. Most school districts, you can request your child to be put into a different public school. Now, they might not be able to ride a school bus. You'd have to get them to that school. But, I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that big of a hardship if you're truly that worried about the bullying. You leave your son in the school all this time. Again, not trying to shift the blame from the school to the parents, but just something that strikes me as a parent. And especially, let's say their story is true. They reported the bullying. The bullying is what caused the youngster to kill himself. Even if everything you say is true, as a parent, I know you would still feel tremendous guilt over a child's suicide. What could I have done? What could I have done to prevent this? So you must have at least thought about removing the child from school. So some of these things, like I said, I stumbled across this story on Twitter, read a couple of news items. It just doesn't seem. There's just some holes in the story. The parents rushing off to proclaim the suicide without, usually when you read a story about like this in the news, there's the body of a 10-year-old boy was discovered in his home last Saturday night. The parents claim there was a suicide. Police are investigating. No official cause of death has been determined. There's nothing like that in this case. It's just immediately the parents proclaiming they found their son's body. He killed himself, and it was due to school bullying. They reported it. The school did nothing. All this is coming out without any kind of verification from the school district or the police. It's just the parents. The parents put up a GoFundMe. Again, not to say that them having a GoFundMe is any indicator of guilt, but it just seems odd. The whole thing just strikes me as odd. There's some details in the story that don't add up, in my opinion, but maybe I just got too much time on my hands. If anybody knows anything about this story, if you have any thoughts on it, put that down in the comments. What do you think? Do you think I'm reading too much into it, or do you think like there's some odd details in this story, and that again, not to shift any of the blame from the school, but I would not be surprised if we find out a few days from now, a week from now, that there's been some other developments in the story that haven't been reported. But that's just my opinion. That's just my opinion after reading something on Twitter and going down this little bit of a rabbit hole into this RIP Sammy, hashtag RIP Sammy thing I saw on Twitter. So let me know if you know anything about it, if you have any comments, if you think I'm way off base, if there's anything that occurred to you while you're hearing about this story, that if you have any questions about or wondering about or things I overlooked, put some comments down there. Let me know. But get some little internet sleuthing going on here on YouTube. All right, that's it for now. I'll be back in a couple days with some of my more regular type of videos. But until then, enjoy the rest of your life.